So then this is what you're going to see. Here the inspector, for the moment we can close. So the SketchUp interface is broken down into three elements: your toolbar, your main modeling area, and on here you have, think about maybe a status or entry field for measurements. To rotate your view, you can press and hold the middle mouse button and then move your mouse. If you want to pan your view, you can press Shift and then press and hold the middle mouse button and pan. Obviously also hold Shift. So press Shift, then middle mouse button and move your mouse. To zoom in and out, you can use your mouse wheel forward and backwards. Okay, so that's kind of like basic navigation. If you like to switch to a certain view, you can go to Camera, Standard View, and for example go to Top. Or for example, Front. So your elevation view, floor plan view, reflected ceiling view. Okay. Now we see actually if we press Shift and middle mouse button, this blue line. So actually we are in a top view. So, but this is actually perspective. So if you go to camera and switch perspective to parallel projection, then you are inside an orthographic view. Same, for example, with front view. Okay, so no perspective for shortening. However, the moment you press your middle mouse button, hold it, and then move your mouse, so you start rotating, you see you switch immediately from the front view out into a perspective view. Also here, by the way, we can switch to perspective or even like 2-point perspective. This is 3-point perspective. So SketchUp does not have, for example, just a top view, and whenever you go into top view, all you can do is just move left, right, up, down. You cannot rotate. SketchUp simply moves the camera through which you see the scene to the top position, to the bottom, to the front, the back, the left, the right, or isometric view. So let's get started drawing some lines. Unlike some other programs, here we don't really work in different views. We basically all the time work inside a three-dimensional view, rotate around, and the sketching tools are really well developed to easily sketch along the vertical Z and the horizontal Y and X axis. So here's, for example, the pen. We can click. We can start, for example, drawing from X, Y, Z 0 if we want to, or for example somewhere on this gray area I can click, and you see when you move your mouse in a circle it changes sometimes the colors. So what does that mean? So currently this line is blue. This actually means I'm drawing a line along the Z-axis, so vertically up there. If I rotate my view, you see it's vertical. If I now, for example, draw it along the red line, so you see it snaps automatically to it, I draw actually along the x-axis. If I go the other direction, you see it's green, red, blue. So it always tells you which direction inside the 3D view you're drawing. But then, well, how do you make sure these lines, for example, are all the same distance? So SketchUp has a pretty good smart tracking. So you see, for example, here when I get close to this point, it snaps to something, and that's actually this distance projected over, and where green and red cut each other, there I can put a click and a click. And for example, there you can see I have filled the face. So I could click here, draw it down, and there, for example, you see I have my other edge. Perfect. Let's go to here. So for example, we can draw this one out and go over and over, and you see it's actually really nice to work this way. The software is always pretty smart about lining up all your lines, so they're always 90 degrees to each other. So far I always drew from point to point. You can also draw a line from an edge, for example, to an edge if you want to. You can also, from a midpoint, draw something up, go over. See right now here it doesn't find it. So maybe let's go to here. No, that, I don't know if did I see it? Zoom in a little bit more. Sometimes, yeah, there it is. So you see I needed to pass this line up. That helped. Let's see if I can find actually this point. And here's an interesting element. You see at one point there will be a long diagonal to a point down here, but this point is on array and to here, so this is all on one line. So essentially when okay, now it shows me the blue line before I had the diagonal line, so that would have worked as well. So let's continue this one, maybe over to there. Let's see if we find this diagonal line there. And it doesn't give it to me, so maybe zoom in, let it rest, project up the blue line. Maybe carefully moving it. There it is. Go down, click. Okay. So, can for example fill in those empty faces there. Perfect. Maybe this line I would like to draw as high as the other lines. So here there you see again this dotted line. This will be exactly the same height as those other lines there and down here and there. See, all the same height. Pretty fantastic. Pretty easy. Okay. There are different ways how you can delete something in SketchUp. So there's the eraser. If I click over a line and then release my mouse button, you see it removes those parts. So let me do this again. I click my mouse, paint over it, paint over it, paint over those edges, release my mouse button. Those edges are removed, and obviously then the face is removed. Let's see what happens if I do this with this line. The internal line is being removed. If I do it with here properly, the faces will be gone. See? The rest is still there. Now if I want something to be filled back in, well, I just put the line down. I can also click on a line and then press delete. I can click on a face and press delete. I can also drag over parts, press delete. So that's a way how you can delete faces and edges, either with the selection tool or, for example, with the eraser. SketchUp also has an arc tool. So, for example, 2-point arc, so left and right point, and then we pull the arc out. See also it's, you can understand if you go up and down or if you go left and right. Pretty fantastic. Let's take a look at maybe this one. So we would click somewhere, so that's the center, start first point, and then rotate the arc around. And even here you see we can use snapping to the different directions as well. Pretty nice. So let's maybe for a moment go over to the rectangle tool. So for example, rectangle, we click and drag something out. Click and drag something out. So you go to this view, click, drag something up, you see actually that if I look onto one face more, I draw on that face. If I look more down, I draw something on the ground. If I look more to the side, I draw more on the side. Or not. In that case, I guess I wasn't rotated enough yet. See? So the orientation of your drawing can already be dependent based on how you're looking at your scene. That's actually pretty fantastic. Then we also have a circle tool, obviously. So here would be exactly the same. This view, and nope. And we even see that actually the icon will be colored so it's blue, and now it's red. That defines the orientation. You see, very easy. SketchUp has a very interesting and simplified way how you can create outlines and surfaces. So let's say we create a big rectangle, and then in this rectangle we draw another rectangle. Okay. I move my mouse over it, you see actually I can select two different surfaces. Let's create a circle from this point and draw it over it. Let's see what we have. You see there are all these lines intersected, so I have a lot of intersection surfaces. So what can this be useful for? So for example, I could go ahead and say extrude just this part up, keep the rest open. So you see with this push and pull tool, wherever you have an area, you can select and pull it into a three-dimensional volume. This, by the way, does not work on curved surfaces. So I can move this one up, but I cannot expand the diameter. Well, I can also move this one back. This one maybe I can move in a little bit. And there, it doesn't want to go back actually. Oh, that's not good. Well, let's see here. Zip and zip there. So it's kind of like basic push and pulling. So for example, I can adjust the thickness of my walls if I have to, sometimes, not always. So those arced parts actually right now prevent me from pushing this face back to make it thin, for example, like here. But that's okay. What I did here was kind of making a really messy mesh. That's not what we want anyway. So let's take a look at how we draw a good and correct floor plan with the offset tool. So let's delete this one. And let's say we would like to draw a room 10 feet by 20 feet. So we could go to the line tool, go to somewhere, click, and along the y-axis, and pay attention to down here. You see how many feet this is long. Actually, it's pretty big. So let's say this should be 10 feet and press enter. Well, my line is pretty tiny, so I have to zoom in. That means actually I'm drawing my object really far away from the center point, so let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's see, so if I click and draw something out, yeah, so this is better. 10 feet. Let's say this one should be 20 feet, so I can type in 20 feet. Say the next one should be 5 feet. And 5 feet. And 5 feet. And then this obviously should be 25 feet. Perfect. See? Pretty nice. So here, let's create till the midpoint a nice big arc. And then those lines I'm going to remove. Okay. So let's assume our standard wall thickness would be for the outside wall 8 inches. So we go to offset. And you see now, because this is actually one big floor plan, I can offset the outside shape 8 inches, press enter, there it is. So let's see what would have happened actually here. You see, in this case, I only offset each of those surfaces separately. So that's the reason why I actually removed those parts. Whoop, wrong one. There. Okay. Click and 8 inches. Perfect. That looks good. Let's say we would like to extrude the wall 9 inches up. So you have to be really careful. If you zoom out a lot, it's difficult to click the surface of your wall. So zoom in a little bit till you see that the push and tool, no, not push and tool, the pull and push tool actually highlights this blue area. Then click, drag it up. Don't click your mouse, type in 9 feet, press enter, and there you are. Very easy. Let's say you would like to add a wall in between. So what I would suggest anyway, before you create walls, try to have this all drawn actually on your floor plan. So let's say here from the midpoint to the midpoint we make a line. And now I would like to have another line 8 inches away. Little tip, go to somewhere perpendicular, type in an 8-inch line. I think I typed in 8 feet, 8 inch there. And then click and click. See there, I drew 2 lines. Delete this line. Now this is 1 line. And if we extrude this, you see you have outside and inside walls, and that's not what I want. So I will go and remove those parts there. And then I can extrude everything at once together. Pretty awesome. So let's say somewhere you would like to cut in a door. So another nice thing about SketchUp, based on the view, it rotates the plane or the construction surface you're drawing your object on. And the same is also true for faces. So if, for example, I click and click and click and click, you see actually that those shapes are all drawn on my walls. So pretty awesome. Okay, so the door has to be open at the bottom, so I can click and, for example, move my mouse up and move it to the right. And then I pay attention to the dimensions down here, because one will be the height and one will be the width. So you see the first is actually the width, the second is the height. So 3 feet, comma, let's say 8 feet, enter. There it is. Let's do this one more time. Click, go up, check which value is which one. So the first is 3 feet, comma 8 feet. Click. The push and pull command is actually very versatile. So on the one side we can extrude a flat surface into a volume, or we could continue extending it or even adding more material. But we can also punch, for example, a hole through. So if I would like to cut this door out of my wall, I click on the door and move my mouse till, for example, it says on face, and click. You see it cuts it out. If I click and move through, maybe, nah, okay, it didn't do it this time. Or click and push. Oh, great. I hate it when this happens. Okay, no, every time it cuts through. Sometimes it can happen that actually you're extruding the door kind of like this way into the house. Another element to snap to is actually this back edge. So I click, and then you see I snap. Oh, there, look there. There it is. See, that's what I meant. That's not what you want. So I have to be really careful about it. Because SketchUp is very easy to start with and to work with, but you can also easily make a mistake, and then it can be a little bit labor intensive to fix it. So you click, and then I move my mouse just onto this edge, because that's the depth how far I would like to extrude and basically punch a hole through. Click, and there it is. See? Pretty awesome. Let's say I would like to fill the bottom space here, so you can easily draw a line from there to there. And what did it do? It just filled actually the bottom face and the upper face, and I can just delete it and it's gone. Good. So let's say this shouldn't be a door. Let's say that should actually be a window. Could, for example, draw a line somewhere. See that? There. And for example, let's rotate to here, click, you move over till it hits this line. Perfect. Let's do the same over, click. Oh, look at that. Lots of faces were created. And click. Great. So that's good. Now, this one I would like to open and open. Oh, this is not filled because here I have a line. There I do not have a line. So the software doesn't think you want to cap that part. Click, and it's capped. Now I'm curious, if I delete this face, will I see a face here? Yes, we do. So that's actually not good. So you see I'm opening the front face and then rotate and delete all of those faces. And I'm just removing this face and this line, which removes the top face, put the new line back in. And yeah, okay, I might have to delete that one, but there. Everything is filled now. Pretty nice. If I want to, actually, these lines I don't even need anymore. They can go, whoops, not that one. They can go away. And for example, the same there. Okay. So with the push and pull tool, we can also adjust, for example, the height of a window. Or we can adjust the width, make it nice and narrow. Or make it really nice and big. There. So let's say we would like to center this window. Well, we need some measurement tools. So for example here, we have a tape measurement tool. You can click, and then lower right corner tells you 1 foot, 6 and 11 and 16th. Okay, click here, there, go over 1 foot and something. So I really would like to be a little bit more precise. And for example, down here, I would like to have exactly the same distance, like the width and the width. Okay, so let me show you how we can put down guidelines. So you, on a vertical edge, click left mouse button, hold it, and drag a guideline out to the right side. And then, for example, you type in the distance, and I want 1 foot, and enter. Perfect. Same here, click, drag, move to the left, 1 foot, enter. And the same from the bottom, click, move it up, 1 foot, enter. So that's good. And actually here I'm going to put this one down so I have the height. Now I can go to the push and pull and, for example, click and see, snap to those guidelines. Snap, and maybe go to here so it doesn't snap to any geometry. Snap there. See, perfectly cut into it. Those guidelines you can delete by clicking on it and then say erase, for example. You can also hide them. You can also hide all guides at once. Pretty nice. So let's say on this face I would like to do exactly the same, another foot and foot distance, but the same height and the same bottom part. So on here I can click, drag up obviously 1 foot and enter, so it's the same, but I could also drag it up, go to this vertical edge, slide along it till this edge cuts or intersects with this guideline, and there's my height. Same here. So then here 1 foot and 1 foot. Ooh. 1 foot there. And then I can draw a rectangle on there. Perfect. And then punch through. Ta-da. Nice and easy. Windows can also have every shape whatever you want. So for example, let's be a little bit crazy. Okay, and then I'm going to delete all these lines here. Actually, see in this case the eraser tool is pretty useful there. And then let's cut this one through. Pretty nice. So let's say at one point, well, it wasn't a nice idea, but this window is kind of rubbish. So how do we remove it? Well, let's see what happens if we select everything of this window and press delete. Ta-da! You're back with your original face. Pretty nice. Same would happen basically with all other parts. So in case this I would remove, not really. Well, I would get something like this because there's something on the bottom part. So let's see this. So we have these vertical faces. So might have to do it this way and this and this. There. Let's see. Delete. Ah, okay. So I guess then in this case I would have to fill in the front faces and then delete the lines for the frame. Obviously Windows could also have a circular shape. But let's say we would like on the back create a window that actually maybe is rectangular and has kind of like a, let's say a Roman style from the top. So 1 foot, so keep it all the same. And for example now from this wall, the inner wall, I would like to have 1 foot. So check out this one. Here I create a guideline and I create a guideline. You see I'm running the inner edges to the outside wall. And then bring these lines down. And then for example 1 foot. And 1 foot. And I don't know, maybe 1 foot. Okay. Whoa. There are many guidelines. And one guideline is not correct, and that's actually this one. So here, this one has to go over 1 foot. So always rotate your view to just spot possible misalignments. Okay, so here let's draw in our rectangle. And I'm passing down another line. I would like to figure out where the geometrical center of that rectangle is, and that's actually there. So that's good. So why did I do this? Let me show you why. Whoa. I'm just deleting those lines. Zip. And then I go to, for example, my arc or 2-point arc, doesn't really matter. So here, go over, snap to there, and to the height. Ta-da! One way. Let's go a different way. So arc. See also how actually now the tool changes the color. So now you know it's along the Y face, along the ground. So to the center, over, and run it through there. Perfect. Okay, so why did I do this? Well, these lines I can actually now simply delete and delete the guideline, and then I push this through. See there, now I have an opening. I can do also the same, for example, just with corners. So here maybe I put down a small guideline, set the midpoint, yeah, nope, to the midpoint, perfect. Okay, so let's go back to our arc tool. So 1, 2, there, 1 and 2 and up, there. Eraser tool, zip, 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 there, and all this. You see it this way. I quickly rounded actually the edges. Let's clean up a little bit the stuff. This line I don't like. Yeah. See there. Why is this thing there? Interesting. Oh, maybe that's part of the initial arc actually. Okay, so I'll just leave it. Okay, so let's say here we would like to cut in the door. So from the ground over there and punch it through. There it is. So there's also the move tool. For example, the move tool is similar like the punch tool, but or push and pull, where you see now I can move this one up and down, which is kind of like the same what this tool could do. But I can also move it left and right, and I can also do dangerous things like this that obviously doesn't work. Let's see what happens with the rotate tool. So if I select this face and rotate it, ooh, we can do this. Well, let's say this one we rotate. Well, obviously that would result into some sort of nonsense. So maybe let's select actually this, go to rotate. So now you see I have this face selected, but instead of rotating along its face, I go to kind of like this corner point. So here, this is kind of like an axis, click, and then I rotate this one up. Oh, look at this. Really nice. And let's say 1 point, nah, I don't really like this. Well, you can select this edge, snap to the endpoint of this edge, and then say, well, move this down to these 2 guidelines. And then everything is back where it was. So again, with the rotation tool, what you can do is you select an object, a line or a face. Go to rotate, and then based on what you hover over, you see it's giving you different rotation options. So right now, for example, I would rotate this one slightly up or down. And that's pretty much, that's all to it. So let's say we select this, so I hold shift and then click there, nope, there and there, and scale. So see, I can scale this way, I can scale down, I can scale up actually, can scale to the other side. So pretty nice. So you can click on those green elements, and you see you can even scale while snapping to other edges. See, I'm actually scaled everything back. Okay, we actually have covered already a lot about how to work with SketchUp for the beginning. So let's hide the guides. So there's something I would like to show you. So for example, we can measure distances. Down here, it reads you the distance. But let's say I would like to also have some dimensions. So let's say, what's the width of my door? Or maybe what is the height? Okay. In AutoCAD or most other programs where you have a sketch dimension, you could go ahead and say, 7 feet. Okay, well, doesn't do anything. We can just change the text, but that doesn't change the height. But actually what is nice is when I click this one, and interesting, no, it doesn't do it anymore. Okay, so rule number 1, never change the text, because then it will not update automatically when actually at one point you start adjusting geometry. And you see actually that the dimension always automatically updates. So that's pretty nice. Same would be for the width. Okay, so you see there, SketchUp is a little bit more limited in the way how AutoCAD works, but on the other side, it is incredibly efficient and easy to work once you understand like where the limitations are, because that to a certain degree tells you how you have to pre-plan and structure your design projects. So SketchUp has obviously layers. So on layers we can organize different properties, or not properties, objects. For example, let's say the floor plan and the walls, maybe on layer 0, and maybe the door I would like to be on layer 1. And you see here, with clicking on those radio buttons, you can activate or deactivate the layer. So layer 1, that's the one I'm working on right now. And we're going to create a really basic door and then a window frame, and then we place them. And now I'm going to introduce you to the idea of components. So components basically prevent that when SketchUp drawings overlap, they're being baked or fused together. So for example, somewhere here I start drawing a line. So this should be first 3 feet, comma, and let's say maybe 4 inches. There. And then this whole thing, let's say, should be 8 feet tall. Well, that didn't work. Okay, let's do this again. 8 feet. There. So what you do not want to do is basically move this one, and then we could say move from there to there. Perfect. Because now you see it is actually all fused together. SketchUp is smart in a way that when lines connect each other, it glues them together. But if you do this by accident, you basically fuse the door into the wall. So to prevent this from happening, we can turn this door into a component. So I select my door, go to Edit, Make Component, let's say door, basic one of course. And there's a lot more to it. Currently I'm just doing a really rough overview. Okay, so you see when I click the door, everything is highlighted blue. If I click my house, I can click on the individual faces. And that's because I'm not selecting a face, I'm selecting actually the component. If I double click, you will see there's a dotted box around it. Now I can actually work in my door. Let's say I would like to have a small peak hole somewhere, let's say a round one. So let's select the circle, go to the midpoint, down, click, open it. Yeah, let's punch this through. There. Okay. Click somewhere outside and you see it switches back to your component selection. So you kind of like double click, then you go into edit mode, you click somewhere else, then you leave the edit mode, and then we can, for example, move this component around. So now let's position this one. So I click this endpoint and move it to this endpoint. So it's kind of flush on the wall. And actually I made this one 4 inches on purpose so we can perfectly center the midpoint of this edge with the midpoint of this edge. There. So you see now a 4-inch door is perfectly centered into an 8-inch wall. And nothing here is fused together. Perfect. So let's create a small and basic window. Let's measure the distances. 7 feet, 4 3/8 inch, 7 feet. Perfect. So I go into the front view, because then I can draw it vertically. Click, go to the right, see that's the width. So 7 feet, spacebar, 4, spacebar, 3/8 inch, comma, spacebar, 7 feet. Enter. There it is. So let's say we would like to have maybe a 2-inch frame. Great. And maybe then there we have another 1-inch frame. So why did I do this? Simple. So let's say this one we push out at the width of our wall, so 8 inches. Let's do the same. This one we push it out to the same width, and then actually I push it back 1 inch. So let's see what the software did here. Not all I wanted, so a little bit tricky sometimes SketchUp is. Okay, so let's revert for a moment and simply do this. So this all we delete. So what I will do first is simply I'm going to build myself the outer frame, 8 inch. Now here, 1 inch inside. For example, I can draw a line. So let's say here's my midpoint. So this would be 4 point. Let's go over there. So let's measure that distance. 2 inch. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, that's what I wanted. So go over and there. So why did I do this? Well, very simple. I simply have my width. So these lines, I continue, zip to there, and to there. I actually wish it would have drawn this completely over, so let's try to sketch over it there, and let's do this one more time, and let's see if it actually clears it. Yeah, so you see sometimes that's a little bit, let's say, annoying. So there's always more than one way to Rome. So I do this. So that's the problem with so highly automated systems. They sometimes can be really in your way as well. And I'll just delete all these lines, because now I just simply have the endpoint and endpoint, endpoint and endpoint. And then this I can delete and delete, zoom in, delete, 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 and then select your line tool, go up. And basically this line we feed along each face. So from there to there, click, down. Perfect. So now there's our one face. Let's do the same here. Click and rotate our view. Go straight up. Click there and then go over. Click and let's go down. Sweet. Little check to see if we have any internal faces I might not need, and actually I do. So I'm going to delete those lines here for the moment. There, this one as well. There, there. Also, if you try to use SketchUp on a laptop with a trackpad, this might not be the best way. So now I just want to fill actually that face. I don't want to do this by deleting another line. To refill everything, I can also simply draw from one corner point to the other corner point. Then it deletes it, it fills it, and just delete that line. Ta-da! Okay, now let's punch in another smaller window. So this, for example, we extrude maybe 2 inches there. And let's see, where's the line? There's a line, okay. So I would like to have 2 inches there, so 1 inch and another 1 inch. And then go up. No, don't click there. Go down. Snap to this point. Go straight up. Click. Go down. Careful that you do not snap by accident to the wrong stuff. And then, for example, remove those points here. Okay, let's do this whole exercise one more time. So here there's basically the midline, 1 inch up, 1 inch down, and then snap to this point, move gently to the right till it hits on the right height, and move it straight over. The same here. There and there. Perfect. And then with the eraser tool we clean all this stuff up. Ta-da! And then we just punch in our holes. And there's our basic window. There, very simple. Okay, so this one I would like to insert there. So I also make a component, window, enter. Now this is 8 inch deep, so I can simply position one endpoint to another endpoint. There. It fits in. And you see already that starts to look like something respectable. So let's do one simple thing. Let's go to components and see, we have door. So drag this one in and drag this one in. So let's rotate this door. Ooh, okay. I didn't want to rotate that door, but okay. Then let's rotate this door now. There. Okay. And let's move this point to there. What are you doing? From there to there. And this point there to there. Let's see, do we have any gaps in between? Yes, we do. So that's good, because I now would like to fix my geometry a little bit. So for example, the floor plan, there I would like to hide. So where can we hide this one? Oh, I forgot to know how to hide elements. Hold on one second. There, hide. Zip, and the same here. There. So now I can look through here, through it, so that helps me a little bit better. So, because those are components, I cannot fuse them together, and I'm still in modeling mode of my my walls. I can select this one, push and pull, and ta-da, snap it down. You see that? Oh, did I zoom in too much? Yeah, there. I was inside a wall. So I would like to have these windows to be doors to be a little bit further apart. Let's say this way. It also means that that wall here is wrong. So in my case now I can rotate to here. For example, this will be easy to do from below. So push and pull this face till it hits there. Okay. Now there's a huge gap between these two doors. And let's say even while these doors look terrible, we would like to fill this. So rectangle, click on this face, rotate the view and snap to the other edge of my component of my door, click, perfect, and then zoom out, and this rectangle we can extrude down. There. Pretty awesome. And by the way, there we can see your floor plan with the walls, and for example, just your components. We are now getting pretty close to the end of this introduction into how to work with SketchUp, and again, everything what we did so far is just to give you an overview. So there's one particular very important thing about components. So you have this door 3 times, and this hole, that doesn't really look good. So check this one out. So if I double click this component, you see it's activated. And you see when I select the inside, or if I go to here and select this one, from each component that face is selected. So what does that mean? Actually, that's one of the really nice things about components. Those are shared elements. So if I delete this and delete this, check this one out. Everything got updated. So let's actually create quickly a new, more seriously looking door frame. Super fast. There, okay. Let's delete all these edges here. Zip and zip. See, oh, see it? There it is. And that's true if we now punch through. And then exit that component edit, also those other doors were all changed. So that's pretty awesome. You see, that makes it really easy. So you build one simple element, make a component, populate your scene, and if you need to make adjustments, you just do it on one component and everything is going to be updated automatically. That's really nice. Okay.